Hello everybody. If you want to read all the stories in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. Short Story 616, The Midnight Crossing, Intermediate. Sarah stepped onto the ferry in Dover, her suitcase heavy in her hand. The night air was cold and salty, and the English Channel looked like a dark, endless sea under the moon. She was traveling to France for a new job, but something felt wrong from the start. The ferry was old, with creaking metal and dim lights in the corridors. Only a few passengers were on board, a family with 2 children, an old couple, and a tall man in a black coat who kept glancing her way. She found her cabin on the lower deck. It was small, with a narrow bed and a tiny window showing the black water outside. Sarah locked the door and tried to relax. The ferry's engines roared to life, and soon they were moving away from the shore. Waves slapped against the hull like angry hands. As the night went on, Sarah couldn't sleep. She heard footsteps in the hallway, slow and heavy. Then, a whisper, like someone calling her name. "It's just the wind," she told herself. But the whispers grew louder. She opened the door a crack and peeked out. The corridor was empty, but at the end, she saw a shadow move around the corner. Her heart pounded. She grabbed her phone, but there was no signal in the middle of the channel. Stay calm, she thought. She decided to go to the upper deck for some fresh air. The stairs were steep and slippery. On the way, she passed the tall man in the black coat. He smiled, but his eyes were cold. "Rough night?" he asked. "Yes," Sarah replied, hurrying past. Up on deck, the wind howled, and a thick fog had rolled in. The ferry's lights barely cut through it. She leaned on the railing, staring into the mist. Suddenly, a scream echoed from below. It was sharp and full of terror, then cut off. Sarah froze. What was that? She ran back down the stairs. The family she had seen earlier, their cabin door was open. Inside, clothes were scattered, but no one was there. The children's toys lay on the floor, untouched. Her stomach twisted with fear. She searched for help. The crew lounge was empty. Where was everyone? The ferry felt like a ghost ship now, rocking in the waves. Then, she heard the footsteps again, closer this time. She hid in a storage room, her breath quick and shallow. Through a small vent, she saw the tall man walking by. He was carrying something, a knife? No, it was a key, glinting in the light. Sarah's mind raced. Was he the one causing this? She remembered reading about ferry disappearances in the news, people vanishing at sea, never found. Was this happening now? She crept out and followed him quietly. He went to the car deck, where vehicles were parked in rows. The air smelled of oil and salt. In the shadows, she saw him open a van's door. Inside, there were shapes, bodies? No, wait. They were people, tied up and gagged. The family, the old couple, all of them. The man turned, sensing her. "You shouldn't be here," he growled. His voice was deep and menacing. Sarah backed away, but he lunged at her. She dodged and ran through the cars, her footsteps echoing. He chased her, knocking over tools that clattered loudly. "Why are you doing this?" she shouted, hiding behind a truck. "Smuggling," he snarled. "These people paid to cross illegally. But they talk too much. Now, you'll join them." Sarah's fear turned to anger. She spotted a fire extinguisher on the wall. As he approached, she grabbed it and sprayed foam into his face. He yelled, blinded. She hit him hard on the head, and he fell to the ground, unconscious. Panting, she untied the others. The family hugged their children, tears in their eyes. The old man found a radio and called for help. "Mayday! We need the Coast Guard." The fog lifted as dawn broke. A helicopter arrived, and police took the smuggler away. Sarah stood on deck, watching the French coast appear. She had survived the nightmare crossing. But as the ferry docked, she wondered, were there more like him out there, hiding in the shadows of the sea? Vocabulary. Notes. Creaking, adjective or verb, adjective, describing sound, or verb, present participle of creak. Definition, a harsh, high-pitched sound made by something old or under pressure, like wood or metal moving. As a verb, it means to make such a sound. Example, the ferry was old, with creaking metal and dim lights in the corridors. Context explanation, in the story, creaking describes the unsettling sound of the ferry's metal, suggesting it is old and possibly unsafe, adding to the eerie atmosphere. Additional examples. The old wooden floor creaked loudly as she tiptoed across the room. The door creaked open slowly, making everyone in the house turn their heads. Similar words. Squeaking, a similar high-pitched sound, often sharper, e. G. The squeaking hinges needed oil. Groaning, a deeper, low sound, e. G. The ship groaned in the storm. Squealing, a louder, more intense high-pitched sound, e. G. The brakes squealed as the car stopped. Menacing, adjective. Definition, suggesting danger or threat, something that feels frightening or harmful. Example, his voice was deep and menacing. Context explanation, the tall man's voice is described as menacing to show he is threatening and dangerous, increasing Sarah's fear during their confrontation. Additional examples. The dark clouds looked menacing, warning of a coming storm. He gave her a menacing glare that made her step back nervously. Similar words. Threatening, implying harm, e. G. His threatening tone scared the children. Sinister, suggesting evil or danger, e. G. The sinister figure watched from the shadows. Intimidating, causing fear through dominance, e. G. His intimidating presence silenced the room. Smuggling, noun the verb, noun, the act, or verb, present participle of smuggle. Definition, the illegal act of moving goods or people across borders secretly to avoid laws or taxes. As a verb, it means to perform this act. Example, smuggling, he snarled. These people paid to cross illegally. Context explanation, the tall man reveals his crime of smuggling people across the channel, explaining why he has tied up the passengers, which is a key plot point. Additional examples. The police caught a gang smuggling drugs across the border. She was smuggling rare artifacts in her luggage. Similar words. Trafficking, often used for illegal trade in people or drugs, e. G. Human trafficking is a serious crime. Sneaking, less formal, moving secretly, e. G. He was sneaking food into the cinema. Bootlegging, specific to illegal alcohol or goods, e. G. Bootlegging was common during Prohibition. Clattered, a verb, past tense of clatter. Definition, to make a loud, rattling sound, often when objects hit each other or fall. Example, he chased her, knocking over tools that clattered loudly. Context explanation, the word clattered describes the noisy sound of tools falling during the chase, heightening the tension and chaos of the scene. Additional examples. The pots and pans clattered as they fell from the shelf. The horse's hooves clattered on the cobblestone street. Similar words. Rattled, a similar noisy sound, often metallic, e. G. The coins rattled in the jar. Clanged, a louder, metallic sound, e. G. The gate clanged shut behind him. Jangled, a sharp, ringing sound, e. G. The keys jangled in her pocket. Eerie, adjective. Definition: strange and frightening, often creating a spooky or unsettling feeling. Example: implied in the atmosphere, though not directly stated, derived from context like the ferry felt like a ghost ship now, rocking in the waves. For clarity, we'll assume Leary describes the ferry's atmosphere. Context explanation: the story's setting, with whispers, fog, and an empty ferry, creates an eerie feeling, making Sarah and the reader uneasy. Additional examples: the abandoned house had an eerie silence that made her shiver. An eerie glow came from the forest at night. Similar words: spooky, informal, suggesting something ghostly, e.g., the spooky old castle scared the tourists. Creepy, causing discomfort or fear, e.g., his creepy smile made her uneasy. Uncanny, strange and unsettling, often in a mysterious way, e.g., the uncanny resemblance between them was disturbing. Story written by Steve UK and Grok for AI. Image created by Grok for AI. To read all the stories in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. CC Music, Drifting at 432 Hz, Unicorn Heads.
Welcome everyone to a deep dive into The Midnight Crossing. It's a really captivating short story, and honestly fantastic if you're an intermediate English learner. We're following Sarah on, well, what should be just a normal ferry trip, Dover to France.
Yeah.
But you feel it straight away, something's wrong.
Exactly. And stories like this, they're more than just, entertainment. They give you this rich emotional context for vocabulary. It helps words stick in a way that just memorizing a list never really can.
Totally. You read about the night air, cold, salty, the channel being this dark, endless sea, and the ferry itself. It's old, creaking metal, dim lights. Okay, that word creaking, let's unpack that a bit.
Yeah, creaking. It's that harsh kind of high-pitched sound old things make, right? Like the metal of the ship or maybe old wooden floorboards. It immediately gives you this tense feeling. It suggests age, maybe weakness, instability.
Yeah, instability. Like it's not quite safe. It really sets a mood, doesn't it? Much more than just saying it was noisy.
Absolutely. It's a very specific, unsettling sound. Great word choice for building that initial atmosphere. Important for learners to notice that difference.
So Sarah finds her cabin, small, narrow bed, tiny window, looking out onto just black water. And then the sounds start, footsteps, whispers. The whole ferry starts to feel, well, the word used is eerie.
Eerie. That's a perfect word for it. It captures that strange and frightening feeling, makes you feel uneasy. It's not just scary, it's mysterious. Maybe a little supernatural feeling, even if it isn't. Think of an eerie silence.
Right. It's more about the unsettling vibe. A good word for learners to grasp that subtle kind of fear. Okay, so her fear is building, and then she runs into this tall man in a black coat. Cold eyes. Definitely not friendly. Then this terrifying scream echoes through the ferry. And it turns out a family is missing.
Right. And Sarah, she hides, sees the man later with a key. You start putting the pieces together.
His intentions are obviously sinister.
And the story reveals why. His purpose is smuggling. Now that's important. It's not just any crime. It's specifically about moving goods, or sometimes people, across borders illegally, secretly, to avoid laws or taxes.
It's serious.
Very serious. You sometimes hear it compared to trafficking, depending on the context. Understanding smuggling gives you the motive for his actions, his menacing behavior.
And Sarah confronts him, which is incredibly brave. This leads to a chase scene down on the car deck, I think. And the story says, tools clattered loudly as he chased her.
Clattered, yeah. That's such a vivid word. It's that loud, rattling sound, things hitting each other, not just a single bang, but like chaos. Yeah. Metal on metal, maybe.
Makes the chase feel much more frantic and dangerous.
Definitely amps up the drama. And then when he finally speaks, his voice is described as deep and menacing.
Menacing.
Yeah, menacing. It just means suggesting danger or a threat. It tells you immediately this guy is dangerous, he intends harm. No ambiguity.
That's a powerful word. So these aren't just plot points, they're really carried by these specific words.
Exactly. Clattered, menacing. They add so much intensity. You feel the danger. And for someone learning English, these are great examples of how to convey high-stakes situations.
So Sarah manages to use a fire extinguisher. Pretty resourceful.
Yeah.
She subdues him, frees the other passengers. The Coast Guard arrives.
Yeah.
But, okay, beyond just retelling the story, how does understanding words like creaking, eerie, smuggling, clattered, and menacing help you with your English?
Well, the key thing is seeing how these words work, how they inject emotion, build suspense, paint a picture. It's not just about knowing the definition, it's about seeing them used effectively. It's like a workshop.
Right.
So when you need to describe something tense or an old building or a scary situation, you have these richer words to use. Your own descriptions become more alive.
It makes your own English more expressive, more powerful.
Precisely. You learn by seeing it done well.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the Midnight Crossing. As we said, stories like this are just incredible tools for improving your English.
They really are. And maybe this raises an important question for you listening. How can you start using these kinds of words? Words like creaking, menacing, eerie. How can you weave them into your own speaking or writing? Maybe try describing something you see today using one of them.
Yeah, make your English more captivating. And it leaves us with that final thought from the story, Sarah's thought. But as the ferry docked, she wondered, were there more like him out there, hiding the shadows of the sea? Something to think about until next time.